Anyway. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Fun Fans Podcast. I'm your host, James Dillard. With me, as always, my co-host, Bailey Jackson. How you doing, Bailey?
I'm good, James. It's a wonderful Sunday after the Tigers took down the Gamecocks on the diamond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a pretty good weekend, pretty good week since we've been on the air here. And what are we going to do today? We're going to bring back a little bit of football. We're going to give our fun fan prediction on the future of college football. We kind of teased that a little bit, so we're going to go ahead and take care of that today. We're going to announce our favorite UFL teams. Speaking of football, so kind of a football theme here, first week of March. But of course, we're going to catch everyone up on the Clemson basketball and other current Clemson sports, especially that baseball, those baseball games. I guess we'll call it a series. We played 2 out of 3. And
and we've won the series.
That is correct. That is correct. Against our in-state rivals. But first, the Fun Fans are a proud part of the Fanboys Fangirls Sports Podcasting Network. If you're a true sports fan, the Fanboys Fangirls is perfect for you. Find various nationwide podcasts and other sports media at thefanboys.com and all forms of social media. The Fun Fans Podcast is the official podcast for Clemson fans. But when we're hungry...
Oh, we love Rubens. There's 2 locations. All right, 11028 Anderson Road in Piedmont. And James, help me out with that street number. On
1083 Batesville Road in Greer. And you got the one in Anderson Road.
I do not have the script in front of me. I am not prepared tonight, but I do have, hopefully in just a minute, a very special guest is going to pop on here, so that's exciting. But we thank Rubens for all their support, and go check them out. It's a great place for all sports fans.
That's right, and you can't forget RubensC.com is their website, because we wonder why the C's there. Rubens C, but it makes it easy to remember. All right, so we're going to college football. So we teased it last time, and there's been some talk since the college football playoff folks announced what would happen with the the dissolvement, I guess you could say, of Pac-12. And just a quick review, coming up this year, 12-team playoff, the top 5 conference champions get the 1 through 5 seeds. The 1 through 4 get a bye. And we talked about how that they did not designate conferences, so there are no guarantees. This automatically leaves Notre Dame out of the top 5. And we pointed out that just because you're in the top 12 of the college football rankings does not mean that you're going to be in the playoffs. But there's already talk, as Bailey pointed out, and if you've heard any of these folks talk about this stuff, there's already talk about that changing. The current TV contract with this format is a 2-year deal. So folks are assuming it's only going to last 2 years. So we're going to give our prediction on what we think will happen immediately following those 2 years. And then we're going to talk about our prediction on what, the big landscape. There's little signs of big changes coming fairly soon when 5-8 years from now in college football. So we're going to talk about that. My prediction simply for the playoffs, I think as soon as this 2-year deal is over, they're just going to go to 16 teams. That almost seems like a no-brainer. They'll just do away with the buys. It won't add, they're worried about, or used to be worried about, how many games the kids played. So it'll only be for the 4 teams, so they won't get a bye. And that'll allow more teams to get into playoffs, make it nice and balanced. So I think the immediate change after the 2 years is going to be going to a 16-team situation with no buys. Bailey, what do you think?
Well, I did listen to a guy on the radio the other day. A fan called in, and he couldn't understand the concept of how it's not going to be the top 14 teams. It's not going to be the top 16 teams. It's going to be about the top 13 teams and a couple other automatic qualifiers, because you realize that in the new scenario 2 years from now, if it goes according to how everybody thinks it's going to go, you could win the ACC championship game. You could be 7-5.
Right.
And if you play well at the end of the year, get in that game and beat the number 1 seed, you're in the playoff.
Right. And you just booted somebody else out.
It's like March Madness, only in December.
Yeah.
I think college football is changing maybe mega conferences. I think there'll be multiple bids for mega conferences. I think you're probably looking at 2, maybe 3 legitimate big time conferences. And it's sad because, and then they were also talking about the home playing games at home. Well, if you get the bye, you don't play at home. And then they were talking about, well, that's revenue for the school. Nah, man, here's how it's going to work. It's going to be shared revenue. And season ticket holder, it's going to be a logistical nightmare if you host a game because you're going to have to give away X number of tickets to the visiting school.
Yes.
Or it's just going to be an open sale to the public. So it's got to be ironed out. So that's why it's 2 years out at least.
Well, I mean, somebody will be doing that this year. There'll be some teams doing that this year.
Yeah.
And speaking of things going on this year, I think our special guest just hopped on.
Oh.
Welcome to the stage.
Wait a minute. Nick Clayton is on here. I saw Nick Clayton on the mound today.
I think he's balls.
Nick, we appreciate you jumping on here real quick, man. You're a return guest, but today was
thanks for having
got
me.
a big out in the 7th.
Quick intro, Bailey, for the fans that I don't know why they wouldn't know who Nick Clayton is, but he's out of uniform. If he's not wearing his hat and uniform, maybe they don't recognize him.
Nick, are you a senior now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Old now. I'm getting old.
Yeah, well, yeah. You got some years to catch up, buddy. Trust me. Nick Clayton from York, South Carolina. He is a pitcher for the Clemson Tigers who just completed we'll call it a 2-game sweep this weekend of the Gamecocks, and had a big out, a couple outs in the 7th, and then got a couple outs there in the 8th. Big time performance. Those were pretty exciting games, weren't they?
Oh, they were intense, that's for sure.
Couple bombs hit for sure.
Yeah. Like to keep it fun, like to keep it close. So
y'all could have done without those extra innings last night. I mean, if we could have just taken that dub right after 9, that would have been great. But made for good TV drama.
Like I told the guys last night, a walk-off's way more fun anyway. So
yeah.
So what's that like in the dugout when you guys? I mean, so I know what it's like for us watching, but to go from having to go into extra innings, and what's the mindset in the dugout with that?
Well, nobody was really happy with the way that we did it and the way it kind of happened, but we just kept saying we'll find a way, and kept battling, kept putting up zeros, and finally just broke through. I think it was the 12th or 13th. I don't even know what inning it was, but
it was the 12th.
Yeah.
And then went crazy after that, but it was awesome.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you. Listen, you don't have to tell me, but I saw a lot of umpire warnings, like maybe players getting a little chatty out there. Because the kid that hit the home run for Carolina tonight today, he said something to the second baseman and the third baseman on his way around.
Yeah. No comment, but
all right, good call.
Hey, on the replay, it looked like he gave him a little pucker, like he gave him a little kiss, and I mean that's kind of funny to be honest with you, just trash and talk and stuff. But
they were. I thought the strike zone was a little tight too, man. I'm gonna be honest, both days.
Yeah. It's what it is, but we found a way. That's all that really matters to us.
Anything about that.
Well, I'll tell you what we can say. I love the way our players and our pitchers, including Nick, are like super focused. But then when something exciting happens, you can tell. I mean, Nick's punching his fist, and the players are getting into the game, like we talked about before, being a fan of the game while you're playing, and that's. But then they're focused when they're supposed to be. So I mean that's a sign of a true competitor, in my opinion. And so we appreciate you guys doing that. For us fans that are just sitting there have nothing to do with it. So that's good stuff.
Heck yeah. Just one of those things you just kind of. We were talking about earlier, me and Blake Wright. You just kind of black out in that moment. You build it up, and then you're not trying to worry about it when it's happening. and then you make that one pitch or that one big hit, and you just kind of just black out and celebrate.
Yeah, well, it's the same way, Dick. If we're playing golf and I make a birdie and you're on the other team, that's the same fist pump I've seen.
Birdie bogey, birdie double bogey. Yeah, it hurts to say too.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, man, we don't want to keep you. We know you had a busy weekend, but hey, great job. Great job today. Appreciate you being on here. We look forward to watching the Tigers all year.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Thank y'all for having me.
All right, Nick. Take care, buddy.
See ya.
See ya.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
And that is the power of technology.
Yeah. Keep Clemson pitcher Nick Clayton on here for just a second. Hey, he could have jumped on the discussion about the future of college football, but maybe he needs to. Well, they can celebrate right now before he starts focusing on schoolwork or the next. They play Kansas State midweek. I think that's kind of normally the midweek, and not knocking anything in any way, but it's normally a smaller local school, I guess, is the midweek game.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can figure is maybe Kansas State's coming this way to play somebody.
That's pretty cool.
Over the weekend.
All right, so you had gotten into the long-term prediction with the super conference and whatnot. So, but back to what you were saying about the logistics, they're going to be 4 teams they're going to have to figure that out this year. In which it's like we said about the court and the field storming. If there's a plan, I'm sure there's a plan, and they'll see how it works and see what the bad parts are. But they'll probably do something similar to a lot less time, but similar to do with bowl games and stuff. But there'll be a plan, and with the technology, they'll get the tickets out there. I can't help but think that your season ticket holders at some level will have automatic priority to those seats. But like you say, you just never know. And then how that'll trickle down if they turn down the seats. But
I'm going to give you an example.
It can't be everybody, because like you say, there's going to be X number of seats for the away team. I bet. I agree.
Yeah. So, and this is similar. Okay. I went to a Clemson home NIT basketball game several years ago. And I called a guy that was on staff and still is, and I said, "Hey, can I get a couple tickets?" Because I had a kid walk on at Clemson, and I'd known him since then, and it was, he would always give me 2 tickets. Well, they were not able to do that for the NIT because it was a straight general admission. So season ticket holders, it didn't matter. You paid $20 a ticket, $15 a ticket, whatever it was. And when the gates opened, you got your ticket and you went in there and you sat wherever you wanted to. Now, I don't think it'll be like that, but there's going to be some, they can't just sell 85. If Clemson had a home game, I don't think they could sell 80,000 tickets to Clemson and 5,000 to the other school.
Right.
And make it fair. And somebody's got to get a chunk of that money too.
And it's similar to maybe how high school does playoffs.
Yeah, most people don't understand that setup.
It involves math. There is that most people don't math.
It's a 40-40-20 split. That's what it is.
Numbers, percentages.
It's 40-40-20.
You just lost 5 out of 3
it's
people.
40% home team, 40% visitor team, 20% South Carolina High School League.
Yeah. After expenses.
Correct.
So that's the key. There's definitely some expense to hosting. I'm gonna tell you right now, however it works, we need to get somebody on here that can tell us how it's gonna work. If we can, we can pull those strings. And I hope we have to figure it out personally. I hope we not personally figure it out, but I hope we experience that personally, because that it'd be great to have a bye, but that'd be cool to host a college football first one ever. That'd be so awesome.
I would like to volunteer to be on the committee.
Me too.
Now,
yes.
Here's the thing. If you host one of those games, you didn't get a bye.
Correct.
But
that would be awesome.
You want to buy.
If you want to buy, though, then you don't get the home game.
Let's talk about this. It can't be a 1 week turnaround. That game can't be a week after the ACC championship game.
That's what they've already done. Have they not?
How can you turn that around in 1 week?
Oh,
There's,
is that not what because they want to get that in before Christmas?
it's all I can do to get people to work a high school football playoff game that wasn't on the schedule.
It
I
might be
can't
2 weeks.
Yeah, I can't imagine the number of people that is needed for a home Clemson game.
It's before Christmas, but that still may be a 2 weeks.
It's like the
from the
17th. If
conference.
it's like the first weekend is always the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, whatever. So it is before Christmas.
Yeah. So it's before Christmas, but I think you're right. I think it is 2 weeks out. Then you got it's 2 weeks or so, but it's over Christmas time,
right?
To move on to the next stuff. So it's going to be interesting. I agree that there's an advantage to the bye, but it's historic to host that game. And like, are the teams that get a bye? Are they going to get a cut of that money? It's all about the money.
Well, so they're all going to get a chunk from.
They're all probably every team in the playoff. They're probably just split it evenly or something. Well, that'll be interesting to see as well. So your long-term prediction is more along the lines you got to talking about super conferences, 2 or 3. Any other details on that? How's that? How do you think that's going to pan out?
Well, there was a thing this week where the Big Ten wanted North Carolina, or they had been in some discussions, but North Carolina and NC State have decided they are a package deal.
Did they decide that? I heard their state government decided that, which didn't make any sense to me.
I think that's best. I mean, they're both state institutions, so I think it would be best if they both went. I mean, we just need to be careful what we want, what we ask for, because, Clemson could probably call the SEC with Florida State and go, we would like to be in your conference and get in, but is that what we want? Question mark.
What we want
day in, day out. It's you better have 5 stars coming in. 4s and 5s, not 3s and 4s.
What I want, and what most people like me, suit me to go back to the way it was. I'm gonna say pre-COVID, the way old school football, when it was an amateur sport, and if you got caught not being an amateur sport, give the kids plenty, give them plenty perks out the wazoo, and people don't want to hear this, but it catapults their career to be a star in college. Let's just be honest. Trevor Lawrence, if he never plays in the NFL, if he and I have the same qualities and we're interviewing for a job, they're going to hire Trevor Lawrence. Sorry.
Yeah, he's got better hair than both of us.
That too. But, people never want to talk about the tangible, the delayed gratification. But anyway, aside from all that, my prediction, what we want is long gone. My prediction, so you see little signs of it already starting, and I don't know that it'll be far beyond the 2 years when they start changing the playoffs. So 4 or 5 years from now, I think the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to take over the majority of teams that historically have any snowball's chance of winning a national championship. And basically and I'm not making this up. I've heard this said, and this is something that seems like it's going that way, and it don't make sense, but to me as a fan, but it makes sense. And it's going to be, they'll have 2 conferences, and each will have 2 divisions, and it'll be literally 4, geographical conferences similar to the NFL. And now this part's what nobody's saying. Those 2 conferences, and they're going to have their own, they're going to separate from everybody else. And they're going to have their own championship, and they're going to NIL and transfer portal up one side and down the other. And my prediction is everybody else that'll be whatever you want to call it, Division 1B or something. I think that'll be the schools they try to dial back in the amateur status of the athletes. Now, that said, it'll be a 2. If you're good, you'll play in that team. Let's just say, I don't know, Vanderbilt don't get one of the tier teams to go into the big super conferences. But if you're really, if you develop after your year or 2 at Vanderbilt, you'll be going to one of the super conference teams. So it'll almost be like back in the day, there was junior college, and all these kids would come out of junior college, and it'll be a different version of junior college, in my opinion. And that might only be
or like minor leagues.
Minor
league baseball.
Multiple levels of minor league. That is correct. But in run a little bit different.
Hopefully the powers that be will rein it in a little bit. I mean, you got like the coach at Maryland goes, hey man, this is getting ridiculous. I got a third string cornerback coming in my office wanting a raise. He ain't even done anything.
And then start for me.
Halfley, the head coach at Boston College, leaves to go be the defensive coordinator for the Packers. He'd been in the NFL. He came back to college. He's a head Division I football coach. And he said, nah, I'd rather go be a coordinator in the NFL because I don't have to deal with this NIL stuff. Because most of those guys just want to coach.
That's what I've heard.
They don't want to hire.
It's more and harder work as a college football coach than as an NFL coach. But the one thing that I will say, and maybe 100 years from now, this will be different. But for the next 2 or 3 generations, I wholeheartedly believe people love their schools and whatever they do, because everybody thought, oh, they're ruining college football. There were no less people pulling for Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State and Southern Cal. Those folks that love those schools and they've raised their kids to love their schools, they're going to do it regardless and love the game and all that kind of stuff. So it's still going to be plenty of fun fan experience with college football, no matter what happens, in my opinion. But you know what else everybody needs to watch some college football?
Probably need some energy.
What's up, fun fans? James Dillard here, and I got my new shipment of Dubby Jitterless energy drinks. Want to open it here with you. Went ahead and got me shaker this time. Learned that you need to get you one of these to make sure it mixes up really good. And this time, let's see, what flavor did I get? Pushing Punch. Right there, your Jitterless energy drink at Dubby. So go to dubby.gg and enter promo code FUNFANS for 10% off, or scan this QR code and go directly via our link and get your Jitterless Dubby energy drink. If I'm going to do that mid-show, it needs to be shorter. So I'm going to do that over something. Just trying something different. Anyway.
Well, maybe I can do one with.
Yeah. We're professional amateurs here. All right, so on to the Clemson sports, the current sports. We've already talked a little bit about baseball, but I know one thing we didn't mention is the Friday night game that got postponed. It's not canceled for good, but they didn't do like they would do a normal. Well, because those games are in all these different locations, you can't just do a double header. They'll go back and play at South Carolina at a time to be determined later. So they'll play that one game. And it hadn't been determined yet. Is that what you're hearing too?
Yeah.
So that'll be kind of a yeah, that'll be kind of a fun one game stand there. Softball had a good weekend.
Yeah, basketball did not. However, they had a good win this week against Pitt. That's a tier 1.
Yep.
They go on the road. Now, here's what people need to understand. They might just look at Notre Dame's record and go, oh my gosh, Clemson got beat by Notre Dame. Notre Dame's won 6 out of their last 7 games.
Yes.
They're the second-ranked defensive team in the ACC, and Clemson made 5 out of 29 three-pointers.
Not good.
That's not good. And Jack Clark did not play. He was sick, and they only got 4 bench points last night.
Yeah.
So, and they still probably should have won the game.
They still, yeah, a little better shooting, but like we've said before, it's all nights, and they were shooting really well. So it was senior night, senior magic for the Irish. So congrats to them. And Clemson needs to kind of flip flop this past week with played on the road like they kind of been playing at home, but played well at home against Pitt. So got
it's all good.
Yeah, going into these last 2 games. Right, 2 more games, and then
the only problem was Wake got beat again. Virginia got hammered. So Clemson could have slid into a tie for third, and they didn't. And Virginia only has one more game left this week, and they're probably going to beat Georgia Tech. But anyway, it's okay. Syracuse Tuesday night, senior night. We'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, we want to bring up more football. It's a football show. We're back on to some football. Coming up this month, March. It's going to be some March Madness at the very end of the month. I think it's the 30th is the first game. The UFL Spring Football League begins. Here are the teams. They got the USFL Conference, the Stallions, who won it all last year under the leadership of Coach Holtz, the Sun, the Houston Roughnecks, Memphis Showboats, Michigan Panthers are combining with the XFL Conference, which the Arlington Renegades, the DC Defenders, San Antonio Brahmas.
The Bull.
Save the Brahma
you
for
grew
your
up in
mom.
Chester, didn't you?
See, and the St. Louis Battlehawks. Now, what we said on here is we're looking forward to this. And the one thing to make things better is you have to pick a team to pull for. So I had this experience before. I was kind of not so much NBA. Clemson basketball was kind of, this was a long time ago. And hockey was always on the team. Maybe it was before all the shows, but there was like hockey on the TV. So I'm like, I'm going to pick a team. I had recently been to Boston for a wedding. This was literally 20 something years ago. So I'm like, I'm going to be a Bruins fan. I bought me a Bruins. I think I brought a hoodie. Bought me a Bruins hoodie. Started pulling for the Bruins. They won the cup that year. Learned a little bit about how hockey works. And so I'm a Bruins fan. So what we're doing here on the Fun Fan Show is Bailey and I we're picking a team to pull for. And we did this separately.
You picked the team that won the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, it was
big. That's like somebody saying, I'm going to be an NBA fan.
No.
Let me pick the Bucks.
No, they won it the year I started pulling, which they had. They won it before, but I picked the team in like November.
All right,
December.
Let's go. Who's your favorite team?
All right, so my team is going to be the Houston Roughnecks.
Okay.
I mean, how can you not be a fan? That's a tough. It's got look at the emblem. The logo is like the old Oiler kind of implying the Oiler thing, and it's Roughnecks. I mean, that's going to be a tough team. It's my team. Houston, I've already ordered my shirt.
It's an oil rig.
It's coming. Look at there.
Yep.
And plus, they have 2 Clemson players, which is the most of any of the teams. I don't remember. All right. You ready for your team?
Yes. Arlington Renegades, and I'll tell you why. There's 2 reasons. Well, there's one reason. Because the name of my golf group on Saturdays is the Renegade Golf Group at the golf course.
Okay.
And I was in a hurry today to pick a team. But I also picked them because Bob Stoops is the head coach. I like Bob Stoops.
Yeah.
I think and then Vic Beasley plays for him for Clemson. And the only negative is that I think Steve Spurrier's son is a special teams coach.
Well, we won't hold that against them.
So they're going to win it all.
They had that.
And you're going to have to tell me because this is not the time of year I watch football.
Oh, it's coming. Sunday, March 30th, I believe, is when it starts. And
I can't do it.
You know what I've found? Our 2 teams square off on Sunday, April 21st at 2 p.m. Eastern. So it's going to be a fun fan flash of the UFL favorites.
Well, I'm going to have to order me a shirt.
Yes, you're definitely going to order you a shirt. Like I ordered my Roughneck shirt this morning. $7 of shipping and handling. So anyway, that's going to be awesome. All right. So as previously mentioned, let's move on because it's going to be a great week coming up. Tuesday night, we're going to Clemson. Fun Fan's going to be in the house. Basketball versus Syracuse is the secondary thing that's happening. The firstendary thing that's happening is Katie Jackson being recognized for her 4 years of service to the Clemson cheerleading squad. So you're going to get to go out on the floor and everything, right, Bailey?
I have zero details.
Is that no free popcorn? You don't know.
They have in the past. Sometimes I don't know. I have no idea. But
Well,
I'm down for whatever.
Tune in,
I'm
check
good.
out our social media. Whatever happens, we're going to put it up there. And if Clemson happens to beat Syracuse, that'll be even better thing. The big dance is coming. Okay, so we're gonna have a fun fan bracket just like we had last year, and the prize is going to be a variety pack of Dubby energy drinks, the sampler pack for the winner. So you don't want to miss that. And that pretty much wraps up the show for tonight, Bailey. You got anything else?
No, just a real special thank you to Nick Clayton.
Yeah. Thanks,
I literally sent him a text 10 minutes before the show and said, "Hey man, we want you to jump in here," and he graciously did that. He's awesome, super guy, and even though he's a York Cougar, like I said before, we appreciate him being on here. And he had a great little outing today. Came in there and got out of a jam.
Yeah,
and look forward to more conversations as we move on throughout the season.
Yep. Speaking of moving on, hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next Sunday. Bailey and I, we're gonna be coming out of live from Charleston, South Carolina. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. That is right.
So next Sunday we'll be in the lower state, and we don't matter. We love college football no matter what. Confident people are going to pull for their team and have fun. We're looking forward to plenty of events this month with all the fun sports. And hey, Clemson's spring football game is only about a month away now, April 6th. So that's going to be awesome. So thanks again.
Your next national championship team is practicing right now.
That's right. Thanks again for checking us out each and every Sunday and Wednesday. Don't forget to click subscribe on the Fun Fan Podcast YouTube channel, as well as your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social media. Please share. Reach out to become a sponsor on behalf of the Fun Fans Podcast, J Thriller Entertainment, the Fanboys Fangirls Podcast Network, and Bailey Jackson.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.